Thank you to eFulfillment Service for sponsoring today's video. Check them out if you plan on publishing your own board game so they can handle the logistics of getting your game out into the world. How much money have I made from royalties and advances as an independent board game designer? I made a video on this topic in 2024, sharing my numbers from 2017 to 2023. I'll link to that video below if you want to check it out. And this video will be an update sharing my numbers from 2024 as well as what I have earned as of October 2025. Before we jump into my new numbers, let's quickly go over my earnings from 2017 to 2023 that I shared in my last video. A reminder that these amounts only include money earned from royalties and advances from my published board games. If you're not familiar with this terminology, advances are one-time, non-refundable payments that publishers pay to designers when they sign a licensing agreement to publish that designer's game. It should always be explicit in the contract that these advances are non-refundable, meaning if the publisher goes out of business or they decide not to publish the game, the designer gets to keep that money. If the game does get published, which usually happens 1 to 2 or more years after the licensing agreement is signed, the designer would then start to receive royalty checks, which are usually sent out quarterly. These royalty checks are usually the money earned from the sales of the game based on the wholesale per unit price. So if the publisher sells the game to a distributor for $10 per unit and the royalty percentage outlined in the contract was 5%, then the designer would receive 50 cents per unit sold.
Oh my God, oh my God.
$60,000.
We are so rich.
And that advance that the designer received would have to be recouped by these royalty earnings. So if you received a $1,000 advance, you would have to earn $1,000 in royalties to recoup that advance, and then any royalties beyond that threshold would be sent to you as royalty payments. Now with that out of the way, let's share the amounts I earned from royalties and advances that I shared in my previous video. I share the amounts in both US and Canadian dollars because I know a lot of my viewers are in the US, but I am Canadian. In 2017, I made $5,000 US dollars or 5,504 Canadian dollars. In 2018 and 2019, I made $0. In 2020, I made 1,875 US dollars or 2,500 Canadian dollars. In 2021, I made 1,000 US dollars or 1,281 Canadian dollars. In 2022, I made 6,246 US dollars or 8,425 Canadian dollars. And in 2023, I made 5,036 US dollars or 6,911 Canadian dollars. At the time of my previous video, which I recorded in the spring of 2024, I had 3 published games, which were Hold That Face, published by Hasbro, Act Fast, published by Outset Media, and Blob Party, published by WizKids. Since then, I have had 3 new published games: Chronicles of Light, Darkness Falls, published by Ravensburger, a standalone expansion for Blob Party called Blob Party Neon Nights, and a commission game for Bush's Beans. Yes, that's right, I made a commission game for a canned beans company, and it was a great experience, and I made a whole video about it if you want to check it out. I also recently came out with my first self-published digital game called Letter Flip, which is a daily word puzzle game. But in this video, I'm just focusing on the money earned from my board games, so I'm not going to include Letter Flip, which to be honest has only earned $5 so far, so it doesn't really matter. But I love that game so much. If you want to go check it out at letterflip.com, that would be very cool. You can see from my numbers in my previous video that I was nowhere near being able to live off of the money I earned from royalties and advances alone. But in the spring of 2023, I still decided to quit my day job to see how long I could survive as a full-time independent board game designer. Now you just saw that I only made 7,000 Canadian dollars in royalties and advances in 2023, but I have not had to go back to a day job because I have drastically reduced my expenses by subletting my apartment for part of the year. And I've also diversified my income streams so that I don't only rely on the money I earn from royalties and advances alone. I also earn money from this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. It really does mean a lot. And a special shout out to my YouTube members. You all are truly the best. I also started working with eFulfillment Service to sponsor some of my videos, including this one. They are awesome. Definitely go check them out. They provide a great service for us indie game designers. I also earn money from my one-on-one consultation sessions with board game designers, as well as reviewing rulebooks and streaming on Twitch and sending out weekly newsletters on Substack. It also really helped that the video that I made about the publisher Hans im Glück trademarking one of the most commonly used icons and words in the board gaming community, the meeple, which was coined by gamer Alison Hansel, not Hans im Glück. It was very helpful that that video went viral in 2024, and I was actually able to pay my rent based off the views from that video. So thank you to Hans im Glück for trying to control and profit off of the meeple. Your greed paid my rent. But now let's get to the reason you clicked on this video in the first place. How much money have I made from my board games in 2024 and so far in 2025? Are you ready for this? In 2024, I made $28,850 US dollars or 40,357 Canadian dollars.
What?
And so far in 2025, I've made $19,791 US dollars or 27,684 Canadian dollars. So we made a huge jump in 2024. This had a lot to do with my game coming out with Ravensburger, as well as my commission game with Bush's Beans, as well as just having more games out in circulation earning royalties. I also signed a new game that I haven't announced yet in 2024, and that added to my advances. Now, I probably should have waited until 2026 to share my 2025 numbers, but I don't expect them to fluctuate too much, and I'll share the updated complete number in my next earnings update video. Now, I know if you're new to my channel and you see these numbers, you might think that I'm flexing, but these are a result of many, many years of grinding, hardly making anything at all, but continuing because I truly love making games. And I'm so very grateful to have received this amount of money, especially because most indie board game designers will never make this much, and that is not for a lack of trying. I do think that being prepared when opportunity presented itself really helped me, as well as not being afraid to take on the commission game with Bush's Beans, which is a large company, and not undervaluing my services when negotiating my rate. And I had to be reminded of that from other designers in the Board Game Besties Facebook group. They reminded me to not undersell my experience, and that was a huge help. Now, what did I do with this money? I invested almost all of it. As I've mentioned in some of my previous videos, my goal is to become financially independent. And earning these amounts in 2024 and 2025 have helped speed up that process. If you aren't aware of the concept of financial independence, it means having enough invested, ideally in index funds, which are baskets of diversified stocks, rather than investing in individual stocks, which can be quite risky, so that you can live off of your investment portfolio. And if you have enough invested and only withdraw about 4% per year, you should theoretically and statistically not run out of money, as your portfolio should grow an average of 10% every year, which is higher than your 4% withdrawal rate. According to my calculations, if I continue to invest every month and I earn enough to support myself so that I don't ever have to withdraw anything from my investment portfolio, I should reach financial independence in 7 years when I'm 47 years old. By that time, my investment portfolio should be 25 times my annual expenses, which is called your financial independence number. Now, I do need to meet with an independent financial advisor, not an advisor at a bank or part of a financial institution who have an interest in me buying certain products that they can earn a commission from, or try to convince me to manage my portfolio for me so that they can earn a management fee to make sure that this plan all makes sense. And this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing with you my plan for how I hope to continue to make games full time. Because as you can see, my income from royalties and advances is all over the place, and I have no idea how much I will make each year. Becoming financially independent is the best way for me to receive a stable income so I can continue to make games or travel or do whatever I want, which is really the point of being financially free. If you want to learn more about this topic, check out the podcast Choose FI and Build Wealth Canada. I know a lot of you appreciate my transparency on this channel. I share the highs and the lows of being a board game designer, with the lows including having games canceled by publishers, not making any money at all some years, and my many rejections from publishers. This video is definitely sharing a high, and I really don't want it to come across like I am bragging or flexing here. I honestly wasn't sure I would ever make any significant amount of money from my board games, and so it's still pretty surreal that this even happened. I am proud of this achievement, and making a video like this that shares very personal information makes me feel pretty vulnerable. But I know I personally like hearing about these types of things, like how board game designer Matthew Dunstan shares his income that he earns from his games as well. I get inspired seeing numbers like Matthew's, and it shows that it is possible to make a living as an indie board game designer. But it can take many, many years, and it is not a guarantee. I hope this video was interesting or inspiring or a reality check for you. Maybe you see these numbers and you realize that making board games is not a get-rich-quick scheme and you can readjust your expectations. Or maybe you see these fluctuating numbers and you realize that you would rather be an in-house board game designer for a publisher so you can receive a consistent salary and benefits. Or maybe this confirms that you don't care at all about money and you just want to make games for fun. Or maybe you're just nosy like me and you like to see how much money people make. But I'm a huge fan of financial transparency, and I think sharing information like this can give a realistic example of what it could be like to pursue being a full-time independent board game designer. And if you want to see what other options are out there, I made a video about 4 ways you can be a full-time board game designer, which I will link to at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more of it, please consider subscribing. It really does mean a lot. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.